show.
Ornish reversal.
Hey.
What is that?
Hey, Sean. It's a, if you don't mind, it's a heart.
Oh, Tim, you're drowning right now.
It's a heart problem reversal program in which you don't have to use statins or any medication for heart issues. It's basically a lifestyle change. You change your diet. You get counseling on stress management and an exercise program. That's the only one that's proven to reverse heart problems. You don't really care.
Did they type that in wrong?
What?
2014, 2016?
I don't know, actually.
I don't know. Okay, well, let's go.
Okay.
Hold on. The mic's aren't on. Okay, good. Fluffy Soft Ninja.
Team USA minicamp, here we go. All right.
Oh, and we can also mention how it's apparently Coach K's last year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's trending right now.
As coach of America or as coach of Duke?
USA team.
Okay.
I mean, how much coaching is really going on in that anyway?
They said they want Calipari to be next.
How much coaching do they really need?
Why not Pop?
Because Pop's old and won't do it.
Yeah.
Pop should do it.
I mean, he did the Africa game.
Yeah,
Anyway, we should talk about this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're recording, so we technically are.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. So one of my favorite things about the NBA is the fact that when it's the off season, there's still basketball to watch, whether or not it's summer league, whether or not you have the Pan Am games, or even as we had earlier today before recording this, the Team World versus Team Africa game. But coming up is the USA minicamp, in which really a slew of players who are quality players and maybe who didn't play a lot last season due to injury have signed up for this thing.
Well, just being on the national team, it's one of the highest honors. You know, you want to get into that camp and make sure you're good for the next Olympics 2016 coming up in Rio. And the camp is a good way to get the inside track on being with the team and work out with the guys that have been on the team before. Because, you know, contrary to popular belief, the U.S. national basketball team isn't just pick the random best players and throw them in together, because we saw what a disaster that was back in 2004. So there actually has to be, you know, somewhat of a team now. And more importantly, I mean, a lot of these other teams are good. It's not just like the U.S. is beating everybody by 30 anymore. I mean, Spain is consistently, you know, trotting out a lineup full of NBA players every single year. You know, teams like France and Argentina are also on the rise.
Did we hear if Paul George is going?
He had mentioned before that he was going to, but he's not in the list that we have as far as people that have said yes, they'll attend the camp.
The thing I wanted to put, there's a lot of players that were really injured last year that are attending. Like Carmelo, I believe Chandler Parsons said he was going, Kevin Durant, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. Like, a lot of injured guys just ready to try to get back on the court and get better press for their name, I guess.
Well, it's an opportunity for them to warm up, too. I mean, they haven't played basketball in a year.
Yeah, some of these guys, I mean, Durant, Kevin Love, they've been on this team before. So, of course, they want to keep their spots on it.
You had mentioned this a little while ago as far as Spain always being a really good team. And I remember last year when this was happening is that the U.S. was blowing out pretty much every game. But people were most excited, at least myself, to see the U.S.-Spain matchup. In Spain, I don't remember who Spain lost to.
Upset. It was, I think it was Brazil, maybe?
Yeah, Brazil. So we never got to see that USA-Spain matchup. And I really hope that this year we're able to.
Yeah, well, and so I have a friend that's from Spain, and he talks about all the time how, this Spain team could totally beat the U.S. team, and I'm like, well, get there, and we'll find out. Like,
they pushed them in 2008 in Beijing. It was I think it was a 6-point game with, man, maybe 5 minutes left where it looked like Spain was charging, and it'll never get talked about, and it never gets brought up for some reason, but we're going to talk about clutchness on the midweek with Griffin Connolly coming up, so stay tuned for that in the next episode. But Kobe Bryant had one of the best marquee closing games of his career, in my opinion, against Spain in that gold medal game. I mean, I remember him hitting a 4-point play and just hitting all these big shots and then just looking up at the crowd when it finally got sealed, just lip to finger, just shut up. Like, this was never going to be in question. But that never gets mentioned with a Kobe legacy game.
Side note, the USA basketball women's team won their 6th straight FIBA World Championship.
Yeah, last night, no, I shouldn't say last night, 2 nights ago, I actually watched a replay of the 2014-2015 WNBA All-Star game.
Oh, and how was that?
Brittany Griner, man.
Yeah, there you go.
She can dunk.
She can dunk. I really enjoyed it, actually. I think women are some of the best shooters in the NBA. But let's talk a little bit more about this, who's actually attending, and I want to ask you guys if there's anybody that shouldn't be here. So I'll go through the entire list and tell me if any names pop out at you. Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, Chandler Parsons, Andre Drummond, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Harrison Barnes, so a lot of Golden State Warriors. James Harden, Blake Griffin, Mike Conley, Michael Carter-Williams, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Mason Plumlee, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan, Gordon Hayward, and Bradley Beal, who shot a couple of air balls in the USA-Africa game.
Well, I wanted...
He did.
Okay. I thought Lillard said he wasn't going to attend.
According to Bleacher Report.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, the only player I was thinking on the list was, well, if Lillard's not going, he's the only one that, he took himself, if he isn't going, he took himself off the list, and he would be the only one that I'd be like, oh, he should be there.
Was there anybody on the list that you don't feel like maybe should be there?
No, I mean, they all played pretty well last year.
MCWs?
Yeah.
Deserving?
Yeah.
Mason Plumlee.
Well, Plumlee was there last year, too, and that was kind of at the time. It was like, I like Mason Plumlee a lot, but he's really one of the best basketball players in America. There's not...
Well, it's a whole Coach K thing. I mean, it is...
People that are better.
And I don't
Tobias Harris is kind of surprising.
I don't think we mentioned this yet, at least on the episode, right? But this is going to be Coach K's last year coaching Team USA basketball.
Yeah, and they want Calipari to be a successor, which kind of makes sense. I mean, Calipari's had that, NBA rumor for a while, and he's, Calipari's like Coach K in the sense is that they're both, even though they've been college coaches their whole career, well, Cal went to the league for, scratch that, I don't remember if he went to the league or not.
Okay.
And I just don't want to say anything wrong. 3, 2, 1, but they're both just so revered by NBA players despite their, lack of NBA coaching. I mean, Coach K, you'll hear LeBron and some of these other guys say that he's one of their all-time favorite coaches to play for.
Are you surprised they aren't thinking about having Brad Stevens? Given his success as a college coach.
Well, I was more surprised about Popovich. I mean, I feel like that would just, put the bow tie on Popovich's career.
But Popovich is old and doesn't care. It doesn't need to.
Well, we shouldn't say he didn't care. He coached Team Africa. He coached Team Africa in the Africa game. I don't know how much coaching there really was.
Right, exactly. That's one exhibition game where it's more like, hey, let's get the NBA more appeal in Africa because the NBA is trying to expand their international base. Yeah. It makes sense to hold a game in Africa. Well, it's super cool. I mean, we get hyped for the preseason game in Jacksonville. It's just cool to have basketball to watch. But Popovich, there's just no reason for him to. Popovich wants his off seasons.
Well, that's fair. But back to the having games in Africa, I believe Adam Silver even said that they're going to have some actual NBA games in Africa this year, hopefully.
It's a matter of time. They've had them in China. They've tried to have some in Europe. I know for preseason they've been all over the place. It's a matter of time, especially as more players are starting to come out from Africa. We see more and more of these guys coming overseas to play in the NBA. The NBA is a league that, of the 4 major American sports, in my opinion, has done the best job as marketing itself as an international game.
So the Africa game, I guess while we're talking about it, we got to see something that I don't think myself or anybody was expecting, and that was Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah, dude, that was cool. And
dropping a dream shake at 52 years old.
He really did, and so
he had a block too.
And I was just thinking, because I believe it was Vukovic that was guarding him. I was just thinking, Vukovic has to be like, I just got scored on by Hakeem Olajuwon. This is awesome.
He went 1 for 3. He had 2 points, but regardless, it was really neat to see him.
And it wasn't just Olajuwon too. Dikembe Mutombo was in the game as well.
Really?
Absolutely, one of the most famous African NBA players, comes straight out of the Congo. He's always been involved with the Congo and brought awareness to a lot of the fighting going on over there, especially back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't score though. Went 0 for 1, but he did have 4 rebounds.
There you go, and that's what he's good at.
You know what would be really cool, as long as they're going to have players who no longer play, is if you just had Michael Jordan show up for spot minutes in one of these games, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. If you had Larry Bird, if they're capable of doing this, why aren't they doing it more often?
I would pay money to see them play each other at 50, because MJ would take it so seriously.
All of them in one game, just during the All-Star
I don't think they could do an entire game. It'd have to be spot minutes.
Okay, that's fine, but do a Legends and rookie game. The rookies play, and then the legends will come in and stuff like that. Would be pretty cool.
I think you could do some spot minutes in the All-Star game for sure. I don't think you could have even a game with maybe 1 5-minute exhibition game, but that would have to be it.
But I feel like if you're doing it as an All-Star game, it kind of takes away from the idea of, we're going to have the best players of this year playing. You'd have to figure out a way to have them come into a different game.
They got to do something to spice that game.
Well,
They have alumni
That's it.
games. I mean, I would love to see somewhat of a. I mean, it's the NHL has this thing called the Winter Classic, where they have two
Yeah.
teams play outside in a stadium. It's always the day after New Year's, and they do an alumni game the day before, where they have the best, active players from each team. I would love to see something like that in the NBA. The problem is there's not, like, the All-Star game just isn't an equivalent to the Winter Classic, for example, where two teams are facing off. But if they had an event like that, I think that'd be kind of cool, something like that.
Do you remember a couple years ago the rumors when Michael Jordan was going to play a game for the Hornets?
I do
I think they
remember.
were called the Bobcats back then. It was a
Yeah.
couple years ago, but I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it was well, the Bobcats, that lockout year were so bad. I mean, if it wasn't a lockout year, they may have actually broken. They have the worst winning percentage of all time, and they might have, if it was a full season, actually have won less than 9 games to break that record.
Nice.
Speaking of the Hornets, is I think that for the last couple of weeks when we've been talking with Griffin Conley, our blog editor, again, you can read his blog anytime at driveandishpodcast.com. And everyone's been really down on the Hornets, but they ended up, I think, having a couple of really good signings in Nicholas Batum and Jeremy Lin. And I guess, they added a couple of extra ball
Kaminsky.
handlers. Yeah, and Frank Kaminsky. But, I mean, they added a couple of, proven ball handlers and playmakers to the team, and I really do think that could be incredibly beneficial with that team in particular.
Here's my problem. Jeremy Lin, agreed. Great underrated signing. Batum, great for 1 year. The problem is he's an unrestricted free agent next year. There's already reports going around that he's interested in going to Toronto to go play in Canada. It's part of the, he's an international guy, and there are reports that he wants to go play in a more international city like Toronto.
And that'd be great for Toronto because Toronto has a hard time keeping quality basketball players. They just do.
And my problem is if you're the Hornets, you bailed on Nick. My bad. 3, 2, 1. My problem is if you're the Hornets, you bailed on Noah Vonleh, a 19-year-old who I think still projects to be pretty decent, for a 1-year rental of Nick Batum, and then all of a sudden if he goes away and some of these other guys go away, and you're the Hornets. Al Jefferson's getting older. You're right back where you were before you went out and were kind of that nice surprise playoff team 2 years ago.
I think if they can play well enough and impress Batum, he might stick around. Like, if they have a really good season this year, Batum might see that and be like, okay, I'm going to stick around, see what they can build onto it, and let's make another run at it.
I mean, even for this year, and I'm skipping on the name right now for some reason. I can't remember. He signed with the Heat. What's his...
McRoberts?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Josh McRoberts. I think when they lost Josh McRoberts, a lot of the reason why the Hornets weren't as good. Spencer Hawes is because they lost players with the ability to make plays, and all they had was Kimball Walker.
But my thing with that is, so you went out and got Spencer Hawes, but then you drafted Frank Kaminsky, who they're bigs that can shoot the three, so it's like, why did...
The Spencer Hawes signing was weird.
Yeah.
And that's Justin's absolutely right there. It doesn't make sense in a vacuum now
But
you
then-
draft
and
a guy
everybody-
like Kaminsky.
And everyone is starting these rumors, and I think we were talking to, one of our interviews last week, even they pointed out, Michael Jordan's kind of getting this reputation as a coach. He's not, or as a
GM.
A GM, that he's not that good. He gets these things in his head, like, this is the player I want, and no matter what happens, that's the player he sticks with. And
well, look at his coaching style in Space Jam.
oh god,
I mean,
he wants to talk Space Jam so bad.
I know. He's trying so hard to get this episode recorded.
I'm not kidding. It's going to happen in August.
Okay.
It's going to happen in August.
Yeah, speaking of, LeBron James and his Q&A Twitter thing kind of confirmed that Space Jam 2 is probably happening.
Oh,
And
did he really? What did he say? I didn't know
he
that. I know
kinda
the
said-
rumors have been floating around. Kevin, even in Kevin's real job, he's a news anchor.
You gonna
and
talk about
he
it?
even made sure to do, I think it was just one drop in the show. I think you probably couldn't get it approved for more than one, but to drop the Space Jam 2 news
Oh,
into
yeah.
the
The thing
Jacksonville's
is-
Morning
Our
News.
listeners care.
Well, if you look at it, he was just in Trainwreck with Amy Schumer. And I kind of saw that as okay, let me prove to everybody that I can kind of act as as LeBron James in a movie. I can act enough that I could do a Space Jam. And I feel like that's one of those things that he just has to do that.
Well, he actually, I haven't seen Trainwreck.
I heard it was really
I've heard
good.
LeBron was the star of the show in
Yeah.
Trainwreck. He was actually really genuinely funny. Again,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I've had non-basketball people tell me yeah, LeBron James was really funny.
Yeah, I heard it was actually pretty good too. I do want to check it out, but
He has a large mouth.
You just threw me off so hard there. Okay, let's move on to Joe Johnson.
But you are listening to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Kevin Rafuse, Justin Kuzart, Tim Tompkins. If you haven't had a chance yet, make sure to hop on to our Twitter, send us a message at Drive and Dish NBA. So Joe Johnson said that he is happy that the Nets moved on from D. Will.
I can't say I'm too shocked here. I mean, Darren Williams was a mess the whole time. He was constantly hurt, dealing with all sorts of, with the ankle, with the back, with all sorts of other injury concerns that were happening there. And it just, Darren Williams, he said it himself, or insiders from the team said that he just didn't like the big spotlight.
Well, and he was kind of a cancer in the locker room. Like, he had a bad attitude in the locker room, and the reports are that was bleeding off onto the rest of the team.
Well, is Joe Johnson going to like it more because now he's going to get ball handling duties? Or
well, he's in a contract year, too, so that's one of the points that a lot of people have been making, is that this gives Joe Johnson a chance this season in a contract year.
How many years does he have left?
This is his last year.
No. I mean, in the NBA, how many years do you think he actually has left?
I mean, how old is he?
I don't know. I feel like he's been in here for a while.
Yeah, he has, but he still last year he averaged, 15 points a game, 15 points for...
Well, if he can change his game to be kind of like Ray Allen, where he's just a spot-up three shooter,
well, even last year, his shooting percentage was above 50%. Like, he's still a quality player. He had a really good season last year, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys. This being a contract year for Joe Johnson, them not having Darren Williams, so the spotlight is a bit off of Joe Johnson. Do you expect a bounce back here out of him?
I do. A little bit. And maybe I'm being an optimist here, but I think Joe Johnson had a lot of bad luck last year. Just a lot of shots weren't falling. I think it was a mess of a team. I think now Brooklyn, for all the stuff we've given them over the years, I think Brooklyn has a game plan that they're sticking to right now. They are going to win some games, which will do well from morale. Brook Lopez is back in the fold. Thad Young is back in the fold. I mean, these are good locker room guys to have around, and I think Joe will rise to the challenge a little bit. I think it's a contract year. I have faith in players in contract years.
When we start doing our fantasy talk and everything, and when I'm drafting my fantasy team this year, I'm going to make a list of every player in a contract year. And I'm also going to make a list of every player who just signed a big contract and not draft them. I mean, it's valid, though, right?
And Mark, 3, 2, 1. And actually my boss at the radio station pointed out to me, he's like, you worked so hard when you were a part-timer, and then we hired you full-time, and the first thing you do is come in late every single day. And it's so true. And it's just like, I have nothing to...
out by your boss,
I did. I was like, got nothing to prove now, man. I got where I was working for, so... No, but so you just made me think of that. So, yeah, I mean... It'd be interesting to see. We should do that beforehand and then look at it throughout the season and see how it translates if any of the players who just signed a big contract do as well as expected. And
dude, it's a thing.
So I have to ask, if you're not signing or you're not drafting players that just sign big contracts, so is that a guarantee? Does that mean I can just have Anthony Davis and you'll stay away from him?
LaMarcus Aldridge?
Well, I mean, obviously, there's going to be a few players that there's exceptions made for. I mean, that's what makes a player a star in the NBA, though, is stability. And we've been talking about this for a little while now. So if you're looking at, your top 20, that for the most part, as long as you don't draft Nicholas Batum, you're going to hit on that. But it's once you get in that 20 to 70 range that you're talking about those fringe players, a Chandler Parsons type guy who last year had a really down year. But if it was a contract year the year before, he killed it.
Well, because I remember when I draft Parsons, it was between him and Haywood, and you ended up getting Haywood,
and
I get
that
Parsons.
Was such a great pick.
And week 2 in, I'm like, oh shit, I got the wrong guy, and I tried to do straight up Parsons for Haywood, and you said no.
Why would I have accepted that?
I don't know.
Parsons was hurt too, to be fair.
Yeah,
he was really.
No,
hurt.
He did play well for the little bit he was able to play though. In the year.
He was really good at post All-Star break. Yeah. He finally got a shot together. One thing that we mentioned on the show last week that I want to spend a little bit of time on was there was a ton of controversy regarding Josh Smith and his comments when a reporter asked him his comments. Well, Josh Smith is firing back basically because he thinks that his words have been twisted. And there was one line in particular when talking about money and the amount of money he's making this season when Josh Smith said the phrase harder on me. Well, he went and he wrote an article for the Players Tribune. Thanks, Blake Griffin, for doing this. And I guess we just wanted to give him a little bit of some on-air time so he could explain himself to you guys if you haven't had a chance yet. So anyway, here's Kevin, and he'll read part of what Josh Smith was saying. There's this paragraph right here that is interesting. I think, obviously, read whatever you want. And then
Yeah, I read this. Yeah.
That one right there.
Oh my god. My back is so
So
sore.
second paragraph.
This one right here.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Damn, I'm gonna be so late.
I don't know what to tell you. We're almost done.
I'm so hungry.
I mean, we can save mailbag for Monday or
Well,
something.
mailbag's quick too. We only have 3.
We only have 3. We can blast through it.
Alright.
I have like an hour and. Fuck, I still have to voice track.
Alright.
Oh god.
3, 2, 1. Yeah, part of it that we found interesting, these are all Josh Smith words again. The whole thing about it being harder on me comes down to family. It seems obvious to me, but maybe I could have said it more clearly. If you know the NBA, you know that moving to a new team is a decision that affects an athlete's whole family. That's even more true when you're signing a one-year deal. With a one-year deal, there's less stability because you know you might be moving again in a year.
Don't unpack.
And then he says, I came to the Clippers to be a part of an exciting team that I know I can play well for. I came to compete for a championship this year. I'm the first person to tell you how grateful I know I am. I'm grateful to have played in this league for going on 12 years. I'll always have love for the Hawks where I started and to have earned a good living. I didn't grow up wealthy, so I know how much it means to have security.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was the same thing for Goran Dragic when Goran Dragic had been talking to the media right before the trade deadline last year, where it's so easy on Twitter to take a comment and just like spin part of a sentence into your 140 character
You know what
thing
they
and
call
just
that?
blow it up.
You know what they call that?
Huh.
Clickbait.
Yeah,
Clickbait. Yeah.
But no, I feel like we broke this down pretty well last week, and I think we did a really good job of kind of giving Josh Smith his fair burden. I think
we did a good job too.
I do think he's
Pat on the back.
yeah.
Jeez.
I do think he's got. It's just one of those things where NBA players just, whether they're right or not, and I think Josh Smith, like he's absolutely right about the moving and the stability of the family. I totally understand that. We all get that, and you know it's a big deal to move, especially when
Especially
he was
when you
going
have,
from
like, a
here.
family.
Now he's going from Houston to L.A. and before that was from Detroit to Houston. Before that, Atlanta to Detroit. Like he's zigzagging up the entire continent. So there's something to be said about that. Just anytime they talk about money,
It's not gonna go over
it
well.
never goes over well no matter what, only because while they may have a point, and I think most people could see through that, there's also a lot of people who are like, even if you're the lowest of the low in the NBA and you're making the veterans minimum, you're still making more than 99% of Americans. And that goes even more extended when you take it across the world and you look at people who are living in poverty. So it's very tough it's just one of those subjects that is going to get that reaction every time, I feel like, no matter what, because there are people, because at the end of the day, he's still doing a lot better than 99.5%
It's one of
of
those
the
things
world.
where if you have a lot of money and you bring up a topic, you're not going to be right. It's not like, and I understand what he was doing. It's not going to go well with the average person. Because they're going to be like, well, you make so much money, you can just pay someone to move your shit around.
But he's absolutely right, though, in terms
No,
of
I agree.
in terms of the moving on the family. I completely understand that, and these guys aren't with their family. You know, it's the decision that you have to make. You spend less time with your family, but you also make big dollars, so you can give your family more security, more stability, more other things that a lot of common people, I feel like, are trying to provide.
A swimming pool.
And the swimming pool, and you respect it too. He's going to L.A. We've raved about what L.A.'s done despite having no money. I mean, Doc the GM actually did a pretty good job, I think, this
I'm
all
still
season.
blown away. I don't know how he did it.
Right.
Like, I'm going to have to go through all these
mind-blowing.
moves and figure it out because I have no clue.
But just, good for him. The Clippers have put themselves right back in the position in a year where I thought they may take a step back. They're right in the mix again to win the Western Conference.
I like it best. I saw an article's headline, "The West reloads," and that's literally what they did. They pretty much just reloaded, and everybody's just as good, if not better, than they were last year. I feel like.
One thing that somebody taught me earlier in life, and this was something that when I was younger, I guess I was around your guys' age. That was something I didn't realize, is that not every rich person has more money. And that's because when you make more money, you have higher car loans. When you make more money, your mortgage is more expensive. So while you might be surrounded by nicer things, just because you're well off doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have any more money in the bank, depending on how you do that. But regardless, let's switch topics right here because money sucks to talk about. You are listening to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Kevin Rafuse, Tim Tompkins, Justin Kuzar. Go to our Facebook, facebook.com/Drive and Dish NBA.
Oh, here it is. I was saying, he pulled it up there.
Yeah, I had it right here for him.
We want to do mailbag too.
Yeah, we'll do mailbag. There's one more thing after that before we go into.
Okay, I was saying because I'll
mailbag.
go sit over by where you're at once we do mailbag.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just switch it for that because you can tell when we switch mics.
Just read this straight up.
Well, no, I mean, if you listen to the one that we did, I kind of paraphrased.
It's kind of just make it sound raw, like you brought it up, and be like, hey, we wanted to hit on this page, the Drive and Kick, Facebook.
Really cool to us. They've actually been
They have been
Yeah.
retweeting it or
Reposting.
reposting.
Justin, can I use your thing? I'm going to get a cup of coffee before.
All right, Justin, this recorded?
Yeah, just go for it,
Right.
and I'll just let you run with it.
All right, 3, 2, 1. But before we get back into the show, we do want to give a shout out to our friends Drive and Kick NBA. Their page began so that basketball fans could have year-round access to great NBA content that is fun, topical, and interesting. I believe the stories of greatness and disappointment are the most exciting element of basketball. We try to keep this theme constant with our content. Do you have the old one by any chance? I feel like it's just...
What, Tim's? Tim
Yeah.
just kind of was like, hey, so, you should always... He pretty much read this stuff, but he kind of made it sound like his own. You know how, Jeremy and Tank do for Comcast endorsements? Have you heard them?
Yeah.
Where it's like these are the spots they kind of want you to hit on, but don't read them. It's kind of just flow into it. Just be like, check out the Drive and Kick. Their page began so fans could have year-round access to NBA. Their content is fun, topical, interesting. They believe the stories, are the most exciting element of basketball. They keep that theme consistent. It's a community that you can all talk, just kind of bounce around.
3, 2, 1. But before we get back into the show, we tell our listeners all the time how important it is and how much we want to keep up with basketball year round. And since the podcast began, we met a lot of friends along the way. And we're not the only ones who share the passion for basketball. And we want to give a shout out to our friends, The Drive and Kick. Their page began so that basketball fans could have year-round access to great NBA content. It's fun, topical, and interesting. One thing for them is they believe the stories of greatness and disappointment are the most exciting element of basketball, so they try to keep that theme consistent with their content. They also engage in the community, post quality content year-round, much like us. And more importantly, it's made to be fun and unbiased place for all fans, regardless of where you are, to share their thoughts and opinions. Now, throughout the offseason, they'll be keeping up with player highlights across all of Summer League, including the Summer, Rucker, and Drew Leagues. A lot of them are going now. But yeah, make sure you hit them up, The Drive and Kick, at facebook.com/Drive and Kick NBA, on Twitter at Drive and Kick NBA. So definitely check them out. It's a high quality source of information. It's fun. It's relaxed. It's not your typical hardcore analysis. They are good friends of ours, so definitely make sure you check them out and give them some love as well.
See, that's good. That's perfect.
A mouthful.
Yeah, well, it's a lot to promote, my friend.
All right, so Chris Kaman. Have we figured out what Kaman's reality show is actually about?
I don't, but Kaman was talking about it, and hold on, let me see if I can.
Because that's going to be my whole angle. It's just going to be like, what the fuck is a Chris Kaman reality show?
Well, let's just do that on air. I'll find
see,
I'll find the article on it again.
Hey, Sean, what's the battery life on that?
35.
Sweet. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you helping us out with the Periscope today.
That's right.
Let's
Is this Twitch?
Let's
Is this a Twitch stream?
Twitch screen?
Twitch stream.
I don't know. Okay, let's
So
go.
we have a
Let's do
couple of
this.
things ready. We'll hit on these real quick. 3 things. It's going to be Chris Kaman, Matt Barnes with the fighting thing, Andre Miller's the Wolves, Draven Dougal, and then
What are you driving to going?
the nail.
The nail?
Yeah, it's a defensive spot on the floor.
Oh, okay.
See, there we go.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, let's-
I'll actually be learning something. Okay.
I have a wedding. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. It's
All right, so
Let's go.
it'll be.
I
I just finished the promo, so it'll be you.
Yeah, that's good. Kevin did well.
So yeah, thank you to those guys at the Drive and Kick NBA for all the promo they've been doing for us as well. Much appreciated. We do notice. So Chris Kaman is getting his own reality TV show, and it's on the Mark Cuban network, which I have no idea what that is.
And so, I tweeted about this, and Mark Cuban retweeted me, which was kind of awesome.
You mentioned that.
promo.
We met, yeah,
Shameless promo.
dude. Me and Cuban.
That's
are
the
like
second
best friends.
time.
No, and so I even tweeted it. And for people that don't know, I think I mentioned this too. But when you get retweeted by a big person like that, you get a lot of followers, stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, I'm gonna tweet this from the Drive and Dish NBA podcast Twitter, and Cuban's gonna retweet it. So I tweeted it. Waited about 30 minutes. He didn't, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just tweet it from my personal one. Tweeted it. 5 minutes later, Mark Cuban retweets me, and I was like, good businessman. I
Dude,
know
it's all about timing, man.
Yeah.
It's all about it's just whether you see it. It's not whether a lot of those guys like Mark Cuban, they get so many tweets that you just have to see it. I miss tweets sometimes, and I definitely don't have the interactions that Mark Cuban has.
The thing is, so I was wondering, like, what his reality TV show
what
is.
does Chris Kaman do on a reality TV show?
Well, so-
I'm serious. I really have. It's just like it seems like pick a random NBA player and give them a reality TV show.
It's going to run 6 episodes, and this is kind of how the press release described it. Throughout the 6-week run, the series gives views from a Let me do that over. The series gives viewers a front row seat on this one-of-a-kind adventure as the NBA big man and his buddies catch a 20-pound tuna, romance local senoritas
Well, that's probably not hard as an NBA player.
with disastrous results. Maybe someone gets sprayed out.
Also, probably not
Kaman
hard.
does have a big bald spot.
Deal with bruised
I thought you were going to
egos,
say big balls.
clogged toilets, and more.
Why would I say that?
I don't know. It just seemed like it was rolling off the tongue.
Also, apparently they said the reason they decided to do this or something like that is when he first signed his deal with Portland, back in the day, he said he asked how the pig hunting in the area was. So,
He's a pig hunter.
he's a pig hunter.
Just
I
like
feel
Nikolai Pekovic is an ice fisher.
You know, that doesn't surprise me.
Did you read the KG Pekovic story that
I saw the headline, but I didn't read it. What
Zach
is
Lowe
it?
did a Q&A with Flip Saunders, and they were talking about, I guess KG, they were asking how long did it take for KG to bark at somebody in practice, running up and down the floor fast enough, and KG's 38 and still run up and down the court. And Flip Saunders was just like, yep, it was that day. He barked at Peck, didn't care how big Peck was, and like, let's go, pick it up, mother, yelling at him in typical KG style. And they asked Flip, like, well, what was the response? Peck's a big dude, and he's like, Peck just put his head down, but you bet he was running faster that next play.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of the Timberwolves, the recent news came out that Kevin Garnett's going to be the starter, and we had mentioned that they were, possibly going to start Towns. So I guess they'd have to start Towns at the...
Towns at the 5.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good place for him to... I mean,
He could, because of his offensive game, though. I was thinking he could play some minutes at the 4.
Well, and I think that they'll have him switch between the 4 and the 5 a lot
with
this year.
Jang.
Well, especially on defense, especially with Jang in the lineup, you want to have Towns stretch out more. I mean, that's the beauty of having Towns. I think he should probably start at the 5 because it's naturally what he is, but I think he'll also get looks at the 4 because of that when you have a guy like Jang or when you have a guy like Peck in. And the starting lineup, to me, it's not really that important.
The Wolves, too, they've really been working on getting some vets on that lineup to kind of mentor those young players. They just signed Andre Miller, which I'm honestly a huge fan of. Not
Is
because
he
of
ever going to retire?
No.
I don't think so.
He's just always going to play.
The most baffling game I've ever seen in my life is when Andre Miller was in Portland and dropped 52 points. And
Yeah.
it was just kind of like,
What?
wait, Andre Miller did what? He dropped 52 points? And I'm pretty sure it was the
I wanna
leading
see
scorer
a
overall that year.
I want to see a list of players, and maybe I'll do this over the week or something. I want to find a list of players who have scored over 50 points in a game and see who's the most surprising.
There was some. Who was it last year that had
Mo
that
Williams,
Mo
wasn't
Williams?
it?
No,
No, that was 2 years ago.
2
Mo
years.
Williams definitely had a random 50
But there
point
was
game.
a random 50-point game last year, and I can't remember who it was, but it was just baffling.
Yeah, I'm gonna
It's
do
really weird.
that. I'm
Didn't
gonna find a
Flalo
list.
have a game like that? Maybe it was a Flalo.
No, because Oflalo wouldn't
No,
be baffling.
wasn't it Gallinari?
No, it wasn't
Gallinari had
There's
49.
There's a Sporcle. If you ever play Sporcle, that's
Yeah.
NBA 50-point games. So you could have some fun with it. See how many you can get just
Yeah.
before you look it all up.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna check that out.
Speaking of players in a contract year, though, Danilo Gallinari's in he's in a contract year. So there's a
No, he's
he
not.
just re-signed a contract.
just re-signed a
Never
two-year
mind, just
extension.
take that out, Justin.
Word.
Okay, I guess we'll
Dougal?
go. No, really quick. Just 2 points, and we'll make this super quick.
Okay, yeah, we're at like 45.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1. So bringing it back to Mark Cuban quickly, and because I just absolutely love Mark Cuban, he was talking about DeAndre Jordan a little bit, did a Q&A, and he compared DeAndre Jordan going back to the Clippers as makeup sex, saying that makeup sex when you're having it is really awesome, but once that moment's over, you're back in the same shitty situation you were before, and awesome.
He's 100% right, but in this case, I don't know that having sex with the Dallas Mavericks over the Clippers would have been an upgrade.
I've had sex with my exes before that it's been really rewarding. So it's not always crappy when you go back to it. I get the overall point.
Well,
though.
it's just like the final word. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, we broke up, but, you know.
On the DL.
It's
Or
very
not.
high fidelity of you. Very John Cusack.
Thank you.
I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than going back and plowing the person that left it.
I mean, I was going to be, Jesus.
You know, but there's something in that moment that just like it feels really good. You know?
Every woman just clicked off this podcast right now.
There are no
Every
women.
single woman.
It's not for
There
your friend,
is.
the one person that left us the review.
Jesus.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Matt Barnes before we go into the drive and Dougal.
Yeah.
Matt Barnes said he wants to fight Serge Ibaka. I got to tell you, it's a bad idea, Matt Barnes. And he also
You
said...
know, I actually heard like they were trying to set up a Vegas fight for this. Like it was actually a thing.
A
Like
thing?
I think they're still
Celebrity
trying.
boxing.
Dude, I would love to see that.
I would too, but it's a really bad idea.
Matt Barnes
for him.
would die.
He would die, right?
Yeah, well, Ibaka's just reach. Ibaka's reach alone. He's going to punch him before Barnes can even get in to throw something. But Barnes is kind of crazy, though.
Barnes
That's
is
the only
legit
thing I'll
crazy.
say. You can't... Crazy doesn't stop fighting. Crazy, you have to, like, totally beat into absolute submission.
Yeah, one life lesson that I have is never fight a crazy person.
Well, yeah.
So if I'm ever in a situation, maybe we're out at the bar, it's 2 a.m., and I can see the fact that somebody wants to fight, it's not that I won't throw down, it's that if you seem like you're fucking crazy, you don't want to fight it because you can't
Or someone
be
really
crazy.
drunk, they just don't go down. They're drunk. They
Or
like,
just, like, don't
well,
get into
depending on
fights
how
at
drunk.
bars.
yeah.
Like that.
I don't think I've ever gotten into a bar fight.
I haven't. I've
Uh,
been close, but no.
I have, and they've all been over really stupid situations too. Matt Barnes also said that he's going to foul DeAndre Jordan over and over and
He's
over.
ready.
Again.
He's ready, and he knows how to do it.
I wonder if
It's
there's some
happened.
sort of beef there we aren't aware of.
No, I think that's just him.
Well, how many games? You think if they lost games because of DeAndre, where they're just like, where after the game they're just like, "Come on, DeAndre, hit your damn free throws."
It's like just go to the gym and just don't stop shooting free throws. I mean, come on. I mean, I understand.
But there's a
you're-
lot of players like Dwight Howard who in practice hits the free throws, and then once they get up on the stage, there's just something about it to where they miss. So you can practice.
It's like when you're on
over
the
and over,
golf
but-
range and at the driving range. The driving range, I'll hit straight shots all day. You put me on a golf course, I'm not hitting the fairway.
It's like practicing for radio in front of a mic. Then the minute once you actually get live, all of a sudden you start stumbling.
No, that never happens.
It's
Why
almost
are you gonna
because
drive
we're
and Dougal?
professional.
Oh,
I
Shallow
cut you off
end.
right
My
there.
bad. No, it's cool. You just say your part again.
I don't remember.
We'll just move on.
All right, 3, 2, 1. But why don't we get into drive and Dougal?
Dude.
Okay, bring it out. 3.
Yeah, we need to.
Yep, I know.
All
We're
right,
going.
so I'm going over from Hailback.
Oh my God! Mention my drive and Dougal really quick.
Well, yeah, we're just gonna switch spots because we're gonna
Yeah, I did no research for
What
any
does a
mailbag
drive and
questions,
Dougal?
so-
That's fine.
It's a segment
I
on
thought
the
it would
show
just
where
stay
we
silent.
talk about.
And since he's
something.
gonna go, do we just want to skip the promo picture since he's gonna get out of here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I had a fucking.
Where we talk about something really NBA specific and explain what it is.
It's like we talk about what. Yeah, like I did the media timeout.
Yeah.
Which was super exciting.
Yeah, super excited.
I did the
Okay.
segment.
Yep. So are we
Which
ready?
was also super exciting.
I almost did the Derrick Rose rule, but I thought we'd done so many contract things, I just didn't feel like doing it.
Which was
this week.
would have been also super exciting.
Fucking tweet text, man.
Sorry, man.
I mean, you should see mine. I have more open than you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about my drive and Dougal really quick. 3, 2, 1. So the nail.
Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, it's not something you'll notice when you're just watching games, but it's right there in the middle of the free throw line, and there's pretty much always somebody there. And so again, what they're doing is it's giving the illusion of more help defense than there really is, and it's mostly there for wing pick and roll as a help defender right there, and it's also there to stop post ups, if you will, because it's really easy to help. But the problem with standing at the nail is if you have somebody that's really good at, like Paul George, is fine because they can close out on their main defensive assignment. But if you don't close out in time, then the offensive team basically comes out of it with a wide open.
For whatever reason, right now when I'm thinking about it, the most players I see doing that are like centers. But maybe that's just me. A lot of the time, like I'm thinking back to games where I saw someone being there, and I feel like it was.
Yeah,
a center.
a lot of the time it will be a center.
Yeah.
The Toronto Raptors, what they do is they have essentially ghost players over and over and over again at that spot on the free throw line, so it's not one person's assignment. But yeah, it makes it look to the offensive team like essentially
There's a lot of help defense.
Yeah, there's a lot of help defense. So it's kind of one of those things that unless you're an NBA junkie or somebody that's playing on a team, you don't hear. Anyway, let's do mailbag.
Actually, hold on. Kevin, click onto the Adobe thing real quick and hit M. Thank you.
Okay.
Putting in that marker.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have you show me on mine how to set it to where I don't have to keep clicking on that thing to make it be a chopper and then clicking back on it to make it be the arrow. There's a way to do it so I don't have to keep going back and forth between the two.
Control K.
Thank you. I'm not going to remember that.
All right, let's get ready to do it. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, so the first question comes on Twitter from Buckets and Dimes, at Buckets and Dimes on Twitter. They ask, with all those picks and young players, are you guys disappointed in the Celtics offseason?
No, I think they did really good. They ended up getting, not Terrence Jones, what's his dude from the Raptors, Amir Johnson. 3, 2, 1. No, they ended up getting Amir Johnson, which is better than anybody they had in the front court. I am a huge fan of the David Lee signing. They still have Isaiah Thomas coming in behind Marcus Smart. I actually think that the Celtics are going to be deceivingly okay next year.
Well, deceivingly okay. That should be our podcast motto. The Drive and Dish, deceivingly okay. No, I think my thing was like they were good last year, so they didn't want to change too much up. They just add to what they had, and hopefully they can make it into the playoffs again, 7 or 8 seed. I could see them doing it again.
They're interesting because, I've kind of bashed on the Celtics a little bit because I didn't really know their end game. And the Celtics have put themselves in a really good position to make a trade. If somebody ever gets disgruntled or there's like a James Harden situation that pops up. And that's what I like most about the Celtics. I do think they'll get into the playoffs. We mentioned this a little bit on the mailbag episode last week. And that the East is so weak, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if they get into the playoffs. But it kind of stinks because it's one of those situations where it seems like you're treading water. Mm-hmm. As great as Brad Stevens is, and he'll coach them, but they're still not. I mean, what is the Celtics ceiling right now? 5 seed in the East. But at the same time, as I said, they have a lot of assets. They still have a lot of draft picks coming from the KG and the Paul Pierce trade. So there's a lot of things they can combine to turn into something a lot better, and they have a lot of contracts that are kind of coming off the books sooner than later, so that'll also help their cause.
Justin's over here playing footsies with me.
I didn't mean to.
Well, I'm just going to leave you two to that and have that yourself. Anyways.
Also, Buckets and Dimes on Twitter hit us up as soon as we posted our 100th episode and said congrats, so thank you very much for that. We do notice and appreciate the shout-outs.
Absolutely. So the next question comes on Twitter as well. It's from Fluffy Sock Ninja. He asks, who are your dark horse rookie of the year candidates outside of the top 10 picks from this year?
Hey, Fluffy Sock Ninja also did the Aussie review.
Yes.
I didn't know that he was an Aussie. Like, I didn't put the 2 and 2 together until we did the review.
I'm confused because his profile picture on Facebook is the German flag. So are you a German living in Australia, or are you just in Australia who has family from Germany? Keith, you got to let us know these questions, man. This is vital. Or if you're actually from Germany.
I think
I just whenever Kevin says something and like none of us respond, I think we do it kind of intentionally because his gaze when that happens is so funny.
I just look at the two of you. I'm just like, are you guys kidding me right now? Like, you guys got nothing?
No, I think maybe, and Tim's going to 100% disagree with me, but I really think, depending on how many minutes Kaminsky gets with how consistent he wasn't.
Stop it, Justin. It's outside the top 10.
Isn't he out? Yeah, I thought he was a 14.
9.
Oh, he was 9? Shit.
Yeah, I was going to say 8th or 9th because he was the one that everyone was trying to move up to when the Celtics were throwing those six tweets at him. Or 6 tweets, those 6 draft picks. Okay, well, I'll answer first. What you think?
Answer. Okay. I have to look at the picks again.
3, 2, 1. No lie here. I've told you guys all this before. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to college ball, so I'm going to go with the homer pick right here. And I would say that if the Phoenix Suns are terrible, you're going to see a lot of Devin Booker because they might as well just tank for that draft pick. And I think that Devin Booker could have an outside shot if given the minutes to be really good. He was amazing in Summer League. I don't think he's going to get those minutes, but when you're looking at players outside the top 10, you're talking about teams that were pretty decent the last year, so there's not a lot of minute opportunity to get that Rookie of the Year award no matter who it is.
Yeah, 2 guys that stick out for me. I mean, one of them I'll mention is a little chalky. It's Miles Turner, who's the 11 pick. But I really thought that Indiana did a great job with him here. I think with Hibbert gone, he's going to get a lot of minutes. David West
That's
is
true.
out
I
of the
didn't
picture
think
too.
about him. That's really valid.
Just right outside. I think he fits exactly what they need. He's, he has face-up skills. He can run up and down the court and work with the faster offense the Pacers are going for. Plus, I think he's going to get a lot of attention since I think the Pacers with Paul George bounce back this year.
And Jordan Hill just got arrested for something.
Yeah, but the other one that stands out to me is Kelly Oubre. At 15 with Atlanta, I think he fits their system really well. I think he's a really solid three-point shooter, will fit pretty well in on defense. The only thing I worry about Oubre is the point that you made is that, we know Atlanta lost Amari Carroll, but they brought a lot of their guys back, and so the question is how many minutes are going to be available for Oubre. But regardless of how much time he gets, I think that's a really good value pick for Atlanta at 15.
Yeah, and all those teams we just mentioned right there, they're all teams that are going to be making playoff runs too.
Absolutely.
Well,
The
and
chance
so,
of that Rookie of the Year being a playoff-bound team is just slim to none.
and that's kind of why I got this next guy. I think, there could be some buzz around Jerry Grant for the Knicks, the point guard. I assume he's going to be, getting a lot of minutes. They're making the playoff run.
I mean, what his competition is Shane Larkin, right?
Exactly. So I feel like he could come in as a rookie and have a pretty big role. I mean, he probably won't. I don't know what he'll be on the scoring side, but I would assume his assist numbers will be kind of high.
Well, they've done studies, or not studies, but they've done research into who wins Rookie of the Year. 9 times out of 10, it's the person who has the most points, rebounds, and assists collectively.
So I mean, we'll see what happens. He's kind of a tall point guard. I believe he's 6'5". Well, short point guard, but he's 6'5". But I think there's something to that. The Knicks are going to be making a run. So. And then he's got to follow on the corner there now. So definitely look for those side threes.
All right, so the next
Corner
question.
threes, side threes.
Or they could be side threes. It depends where,
Yeah, whatever. You're
as long as you aren't at the very top.
Yeah, and then it's a side three.
Right.
Right, so the next question comes on Twitter from Icy Hot at Can't Blame Wilt. He asks, does Aaron Gordon's best case projection equal Blake Griffin or Kawhi Leonard?
I see it as like a hybrid kind of, not 100% of each, but a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Because like he kind of has the shot where Kawhi Leonard kind of has a shot, but he's also big like Griffin is.
I think Aaron Gordon projects to be a better defender than Blake Griffin does.
Yeah.
I think he'll be able to body up with bigger guys more than Blake does. But I think his offensive game reminds me... He's athletic, but he's not athletic enough to have highlight finishes like Blake does. But I think if he can get that jumper down, which I know they've been working on, he reminds me a lot more of Blake Griffin than Kawhi Leonard. I don't think he'll ever be able to shoot the three ball with the consistency that Kawhi Leonard does. I don't think he'll ever, as great of a defender as he is, and I do think he can switch on to guards, I don't think he'll be that just destructive force like Kawhi Leonard is on some of these, point guards and shooting guards and stuff like that. So I think he's more of a Blake Griffin best case scenario with a Blake Griffin who's a little stronger on the defensive end and just a little less good on the offensive end.
God, he looked so good during Summer League.
He did. Absolutely. I mean, he was knocking down that jumper. That's the next step in Aaron Gordon's progression, and that pick is going to look really good for Orlando if he can start to knock that down with consistency.
It's going to look like they were really smart not to take Exum if Gordon pans out.
Absolutely, because that was the big thing is that Orlando needed a point guard, and they telegraphed their expectations pretty much. They wanted Peyton, which allowed the Sixers to kind of job them a little bit, but at the same time, you got the point guard you wanted, and you got Aaron Gordon, so it doesn't matter if you get jobbed, but you still get the people that you need.
Exactly.
I think that's all of them, right?
Nope, we got one
One
more.
more?
It's on Facebook.
Oh, this one's a long one.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite one.
No,
This
it's
is
a good one.
I love this one. Sean Ace, man, we got to do a big.
All right.
I love his questions.
3, 2, 1. And last but not least, our final question comes on Facebook from Sean Ace. He asks, what's good, guys? Congrats on the 100th episode. If you could, this is a two-parter, by the way. If you could be one of the analysts during a game on the sidelines commenting throughout an NBA game on national TV, which co-host would you want with you? They must be a current NBA player, and there's no monies involved in this. No monies, no monies. And on another note, how many monies would it take to have you eat a whole bottle of ketchup in under 5 minutes? We're talking like a 24-ounce container, and no additional foods and liquids can be used. So we'll eat. 3, 2, 1. So we'll answer each part of this first. So we'll go around. So the first one is, who do you want commentating with you?
This isn't even a debate for me. This is Kristen Ledlow. I have such a boy crush on Kristen Ledlow. So Kristen, if you're listening to this,
Oh, wait, he just
she used to play. It doesn't matter. She used to play. I don't. She still probably does. I've seen her on NBA TV playing with Grant Hill in their little show. Kristen Ledlow. I don't care. That's my answer. She's a babe.
Okay, well, he said it should be a current NBA player. So, Justin, I'm going to let you go. Hopefully,
First
you
of all-
follow the rules.
First of all, I want to know why there's no monies involved, because if I'm, working a game, I'm getting paid for that shit.
Well, I think it means you can have the budget to hire anyone.
Well, Blake Griffin, because he's hilarious. I feel like he would be fun to commentate a game with. There would be many jokes.
Honestly, Jared Dudley, he just did the Low Post with Zach Lowe, and he is amazing on a mic. I would not be surprised at all to see him commentating and being an analyst once his career's done with the Wizards.
See, I'm probably going to go Kobe here. And it's just for sheer entertainment
I feel like he
value.
would just be a dick.
Kobe,
He might be a
exactly.
dick.
It'd be great.
But
Kobe
that
would
wouldn't- that's
Kobe
not
would be
fun.
barking out stuff. You could get him to tell all sorts of stories that he has about the players. And, say he's calling a game with an ex-teammate. He'll be like, oh, look at Powell, man. There was this one time where I dunked on him in practice. And he'd go on, and it would just be hilarious. Kobe on Twitter is so entertaining with this stuff. And and Kobe's been around for so long. He's got all these war stories. Paul Pierce would be another good one with like that. I want to have somebody that's been in the league and is just going to have the dirt on everyone.
Have either of you guys listened to the Low Post with Jared Dudley
I
that
haven't
came out
yet.
last week?
No.
Amazing, phenomenal. You have to listen to it. It's some of the best insight into the NBA that I can't believe a player's talking about.
I will definitely
Okay.
have to take a listen to that. But the next one is, so it's a whole bottle of ketchup, a 24-ounce one, in under 5 minutes. How much money would it take? I'm gonna lob this to Justin first because we talked about this on an intro, but Justin has 7 bottles of ketchup in his house at any given time.
An update on that. It's becoming such a big problem that I actually steal ketchup bottles from bars now when I'm drunk because I get worried because my roommate started using my ketchup. So I'm worried I'm running out. So when I'm drunk, I see a ketchup bottle. I'm like, oh, I might as well grab that. And so now there's like 8 or 9
You're
of them.
an
Like,
idiot. You actually might have a problem.
That's a part of the reason why prices at restaurants keep going up because they have to replace so many ketchup bottles.
well, I apologize for raising the prices on you guys.
So if Justin walks into your bar, restaurant owners, hide your ketchup.
Side note, I love ketchup, but I don't think I could have it just by itself and for a whole thing. I'd do it if you're gonna give me like $2,000. Like I'll try.
I do it for $500.
Yeah, $500. I'll try. I can't promise I'll get it done in 5 minutes, but I'll try.
Yeah, I do it for $500. Pay off my bed.
I'm just worried I won't like ketchup after it.
It's fine.
I think I'd probably be done with ketchup after this. How much might
You don't really have to give me much.
I
'cause
might
it's
do
not
it for
that
$500.
nasty.
Yeah, I do.
It's pretty gross though. I don't know because it definitely would ruin ketchup for me.
I
That's
feel
the
like
thing.
it's really comparable in that aspect as to eating tomato soup. And so that's how I look at it from a mental standpoint going into that ketchup bottle.
No, it's not tomato soup at all.
Right, but if you heated it up in the microwave, which Sean didn't meant to say that we couldn't, if you heated it up in the microwave, stirred it around a bit, it might
Put
have
some water in it?
Yeah, it might have the consistency of tomato soup.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work.
Well, we could try it.
I
Nah,
mean,
I
it's a
don't
theory.
want
It
to.
can't hurt, but it just you gotta hope it doesn't backfire.
I'm not sure if we can accept or reject the null hypothesis at this point. Maybe
Oh,
we'll find out
God.
one day.
So $500. Justin, you're $2,000.
No, I'd do it for 500.
All
I
right.
said 2,000 because I thought we were going to be stingy, but yeah, if we're all going 500, I'll do it for
Man,
500.
we are cheap.
I mean,
So,
We're
seriously,
poor radio
If
people,
anybody
man.
wants to offer me $500 to eat a whole bottle of ketchup, I think I'd do it.
Yeah, probably.
Or if any of you want to try this and you post it to our Twitter page, well, we'll definitely retweet you.
We're not going to send you $500, though, I'll tell
But
you
we
that.
will retweet you.
we will blow up your Twitter feed with all the love and promotion you could ever want. Well, thank you everybody so much for hitting us up with those mailbag questions. We really do appreciate it. You can send them to us throughout the week, not just on Thursdays when we post it on Facebook. You can tweet at us anytime. You can send us a message on the Facebook. You can send us a message on our website, driveandishpodcast.com.
And definitely leave us a review on iTunes. Again, we read one earlier. We appreciate all you guys leaving the reviews on iTunes. It's not just for self-promotion. We promise it actually helps us move up in the rankings and get seen by more listeners out there. So if you guys could like the podcast, even if you don't like the podcast, just leave us a review. We appreciate it. It'll help us move up the rankings.
And we're also on here for 3, 2, 1. And we're also on a bunch of different podcasting apps, Stitcher, Player FM, TuneIn, Podbean, any of those. And if you leave us any reviews or anything like that on any of those, just send us a message and we'll make sure that we give you a shout out in one of our shows. It's just hard for us to collectively go out and search all of them. Also, every week we Periscope our show live behind the scenes. So if you don't follow us yet on Periscope, please make sure to do so. Just follow either myself, Tim Tompkins, or Justin on Twitter, and you'll see the link.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow the Drive and Dish podcast at Drive and Dish NBA. You can follow me at Justin C on the air. You can follow Tim, Radio Tim NBA, and Kevin is at Refuse to Lose. Good.
Okay.
Done. Lock it.
Done.
Okay. So we just need to go record that outro really quick, and then you're done, or do you want to try and do that a different day? Or how do you want to?
No, let's just do it now because Mark uses the room.
Yeah, you're down to like 15% maybe.